to Civitavecchia in Italy for the fourth stop on the Bullitt GC32 racing tour. Now, the name Civitavecchia means ancient town, and this seaside resort was a favourite amongst the Romans. But this week, the ultra-modern flying machines that are the GC32s are in town, and they're going to be fighting it out for the Bullitt GC32 Trofeo di Roma. Now, so far this season, we've had 3 events and 3 different winners. Let's have a quick reminder. Sultanate of Oman took the opening tour event in Austria. They read the changeable, shifty winds on Lake Traunsee perfectly, and with great tactical choices, they took the Austria Cup, and with it, top spot on the overall series leaderboard. It's a position that they've successfully managed to defend at the next 2 events. The Swiss team Armin Strom relished the challenging conditions racing in the Solent to take the inaugural Cows Cup ahead of the series leaders. In Kiel, the 3rd stop on the tour, we saw some pretty close battles out on the compact racecourse. Enjoying the stadium sailing, though, was Alinghi, who were victorious, becoming the 3rd winners in as many tour events. So heading into the 4th stop of the season in Italy, the gap is down to just 1 point. Sultanate of Oman and skipper Lee McMillan have the advantage over the Swiss team Alinghi, with Spindrift Racing back in 3rd.
Still 2 events to go, so a lot of points on the table, and we're making a nice push, and I think we're growing in the boat, but everybody else is too. So you know, it's going to be right down to the end, I think.
All the teams would admit that they're still getting familiar with the GC32s, not just learning about trimming the sails and their setup, but also discovering which crew combinations produce the best results. The more established teams like Spindrift, Alinghi or Sultanate of Oman have been sailing together for many years, albeit on different boats. Teams like Armin Strom or Engie, though, are still exploring new combinations. In Italy, Matthew Subban is a new crew member on Team Engie, but he's an old friend with skipper Seb Rogues. The pair have sailed together numerous times, and Subban hopes to bring his vast experience in multi-hulls to racing the GC32s.
It's always good to be back in a whole team, you know. We are going a step forward. I think the level will get higher and higher, so it's good to be here now to take the train in a good position.
Well, it's certainly been a competitive season on this tour, which has attracted plenty of attention, not just potential owners who've been impressed with the boats, but also other tours. Laurent Lenny, the brainchild behind these boats, joins me. And Laurent, tell me about the exciting news between these boats and the Extreme Sailing Series.
Yeah, well, you know, the Extreme Sailing has been a circuit. I've been talking with them for 2 years because, you know, originally I built a boat and I thought that we could fit their purpose too. And I think we proved last 2-3 years on the Bullitt circuit that we had a really great boat. And I think the outcome is that they actually acknowledge this is a great boat to fit multiple purposes of having owners, but also very good sailors on the boat.
So the Extreme Sailing Series is going to be using the GC32s next year. What is it about the boats then? Why do you think that the tour has been so attracted to them?
Well, obviously since the America's Cup went foiling, I think the sailing world has changed, and I guess they needed to also get a bit of it, and the Extreme 40 has been there for quite a long time. It's been a very good boat, and they were looking for a few years to actually do something else, and I think it's a new spectacle. You have more possibility to have very exciting shows for spectators, which is what they're targeting, and so I think the robustness of the boat, the speed of the boat, the fact the product's finished, I think it's all what attracted them.
However, despite the Extreme Sailing Series adopting the catamarans next season, the Bullitt GC32 Racing Tour will continue, and organisers have big plans to grow the series in future years. 2015 has been a hugely successful season with tight, competitive racing. The tour has certainly impressed not just potential owners, but the sailing world in general.
Well, for 2016 we're looking forward to a really nice tour, mostly in Europe. We selected a nice choice of sailing venues where the venue itself, the sailing conditions, is the most important, and it gives us a really good quality for sailing and for our teams to participate.
We started with 5 teams this year, 2015, and which I regularly participated. We had other teams that came in for 1-2 times, and looking forward to have the same teams for the next 3 years, plus new teams that want to sail with the existing teams now, like our Indian Spindrift, Armstrong. It's going to be a nice, attractive series.
The GC32s are effectively scaled-down America's Cup yachts. However, with their size and ability to foil in a wider range of conditions, not just elite-level sailors can enjoy them. At each Bullitt Tour event, guests are invited on board to experience the very latest technology in yacht racing, a fully foiling GC32.
And now you're in the middle of a Formula One, basically, so it's very, very exciting. I mean, it's just a feeling you even for sailors who haven't been on this boat, will never expect. This sensation of quick decision you have to make and quick maneuver and everything. So it's very exciting. It's a lot of adrenaline setting, like nothing before.
Journalists and corporate guests were given the opportunity to sail the GC32 foiling cats in Civitavecchia. The lucky invitees were briefed at the start of the day on what to expect on board and where they should sit as to not disrupt the crew. It's an exciting chance for non-sailors to see what it's like to race on a state-of-the-art catamaran that foil and can sail at nearly 40 knots.
For the hospitality management, we have to take care to all our guests. So first we go in the morning when they arrive at around 9:30 to see the boat. We do a tour to explain them in the area, the technical area, what are the boat, what they can do, the place where they have to be. And after we come back to our nice place, guest lounge, to explain with video what they will have on the sea, because it's a very speedboat, and we really have to take care of each guest. So we have security explanation, and we also we are presenting the teams.
And then comes the moment that VIPs have been looking forward to. It's time to jump aboard and cast off for a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. Each boat has a new guest on board for every race, so 6 races daily, no one is left complaining. Foils are still pretty novel to the world of sailing, so for most guests it was a totally new experience.
fun. It was a pity we didn't get to fly. It was a pity we didn't get to go fast as a GC32 can. But it was still a new feeling, new experience. I was actually at the very top of the bow, and I was basically flying over water.
Civitavecchia is located some 50 kilometres northwest of the Italian capital, and it's known as the Port of Rome. Now perhaps for cruise liners and ferries, but it was once an important town for trade in and out of Italy, and also for the defence of Rome. Historic sites like this, Michelangelo's fortress, provide the ideal backdrop for the Bullitt GC32 race village. Stay with us. After the break, we'll move from land to water when racing gets underway for the Trofeo di Roma. Well, welcome back to Civitavecchia in Italy for the fourth stop of the Bullitt GC32 racing tour. Now, interest is high in this series, with the boats racing on the Italian coast for the first ever time. Lots of national and local media are here for the press conference just hours before racing gets underway. Once the skippers were introduced to the media, they could then focus on the racing ahead. The tour is now firmly heading towards its finale, and with the points so close on the overall leaderboard, a good result here in Italy could make all the difference ahead of the concluding event in Marseille in October.
Alinghi and Oman are impressive since the beginning, so we try to do well and catch them up. So it's a goal for this event, it's to win this event, because if you want to win the overall ranking, you need to win this event. But Oman are really impressive, Alinghi as well, so it will be difficult. But we take race after race, and we will see.
The conditions on the Italian coast are very different from what the teams have encountered so far this season. There was light, shifty winds in Austria, strong currents and big seas in Cowes, and then close stadium sailing in Kiel, which all tested the teams so far this season. But at this event, the crews will have to adapt their tactics and teamwork to the more open seas. Similar to Marseille, where the teams had their test event earlier this year, Italy offers a large open racecourse with a consistent sea breeze. Boat speed and a good start become vital, with the crews looking to maximise their time up on the foils.
Yeah, when we put together the tour, it was obvious that there are always different conditions, all the different venues. We started with fly there on the lake, Transit, and a lot of current and wind in Cowes. And the Kiel event, the Kiel location was very small, so it was not really about the wind. But here it's open water again, and at the moment lie there.
Sure enough, the wind gods obliged, allowing racing to get underway with all 6 scheduled races successfully sailed on day 1. The first 2 races were held in 10 knots of wind. It was enough to get the GC32s airborne on the downwind legs, hitting speeds of up to 20 knots. Spindrift Racing made a bold choice, splitting away from the rest of the fleet to find the best pressure. But the decision paid off and they took the opening race ahead of Sultanate of Oman. The Oman boat skippered by Lee McMillan won the second race before Armin Strom's sailing team and Swiss four-time star Olympian Flavio Marazzi took the third. Later in the afternoon, when the wind dropped, two boats locked horns. Jan Guichard on Spindrift Racing and Sultanate of Oman. Lee McMillan's team were ahead twice, only to be overtaken by the French team.
It was really nice conditions in the first couple of races getting foiling, so that was a pleasure, an unexpected pleasure. But we gave away a couple of points in the last two races, which were a bit I'm pretty frustrated about. Can't afford to give places away.
After a full schedule on the opening day, the teams were eager to hit the water and get back racing on day two. However, with no wind, the crews were forced to wait it out. First ashore and then with the GC32s out on moorings off Civitavecchia's beach. Finally, there was just enough wind for two short, single-lap, non-scoring Pro-Am races to be sailed. Some fun for the guests on board. So with both races not counting, the final 2 days would be vital in the fight for the Trofeo di Roma. Luckily, the winds picked up and the teams had a full schedule of 6 races to sail on day 3 in Civitavecchia. After a lacklustre opening to the regatta, Team Engie came back strong, and along with Ilinghi, they had the best performance for the day. The French team only finished off the podium in 1 race, and as a result, they elevated themselves up to 4th place overall. There was disappointment for Spindrift Racing. They started the day on top but dropped to 3rd after some difficult and incorrect tactical choices in the light conditions. Sultanate of Oman took advantage to climb up to the top of the leaderboard. They had a 3-point lead over Ilinghi, who also had an outstanding day. They finished with 3 bullets in the final 3 races. Their wins coincided with the wind building very slightly, enabling the GC32s to fly their weather hulls from time to time on the downwind legs.
Once the wind came up, we felt a little more comfortable, and I think that's been sort of historically how we're going. And it's a surprise because, in the past, especially in the Extreme 40, we were pretty quick in the light conditions, and for whatever reason on this boat, we just haven't found our gear there.
After a tiring day on the water, all the crews had a chance to relax and take in the beautiful Italian Riviera. There was a cocktail party laid on by the organisers to celebrate the GC32's racing in Civitavecchia for the very first time.
We decided to host here in Civitavecchia the Great Cup 32 because it's not only a sport event, but it's the opportunity to realize something special for the city and all the country. Because when you organize such big competitions, you actually activate a lot of synergies with the territory. You can create a lot of social events that can attract people, attract companies, and create very important touristic responses that are able to develop really a territory.
So just 3 points separated the 3 top teams heading into the final day of racing. They'd be racing for the inaugural Trofeo di Roma. Sultanate of Oman had the advantage over Alinghi and Spindrift Racing, who were tied in seconds.
We have to sail like we know, then I hope we make good decision and good maneuver. And I think if we can sail with like the first day, I think we can win.
The French team Spindrift Racing have yet to win an event on this year's tour and were looking to impress ahead of their home event in Marseille next month. This season we've seen 3 different winners of the tour events, so very few points separate the main protagonists. This penultimate event in Italy could be key come the end of the season. It was another beautiful day on the Italian coast, and sailing conditions were the best that they'd been all week. Finally, the boats could perform to their potential, and fully foiling starts were quite some sight off the beach. Spindrift Racing were the quickest off the mark and took the opening race of the day. That win moved them up above Alinghi on the overall leaderboard, but only temporarily. The Swiss team retaliated with 3 wins on the trot and looked to have sealed second place before some poor starts saw them trail the fleet. Spindrift Racing then sealed that second spot on the overall leaderboard, whilst it was a good day for Armin Strom, who moved above NG. However, there was no doubt who were the performers of the week. The winners were Sultanate of Oman. They had the most consistent day of all, and despite not scoring any bullets on this final day, they defended their position at the top of the leaderboard, lifting the inaugural Trofeo di Roma.
We knew it was going to be a hard day, you know. It was very close on the overalls, us and Spindrift and Alinghi, and we were just very conscious about just trying to minimise the amount of points we lost to them.
It was a second tour win for Lee McMillan and his team after they won the opening event in Austria. This latest victory sees them move 3 points clear on the overall series leaderboard. The teams celebrated receiving their prizes on the podium after what's been a tough but enjoyable week of racing in Civitavecchia. Well, that's it from Italy and the beautiful seaside resort of Civitavecchia. The tour now heads to France and to Marseille. It's a city that's very familiar with hosting top sailing events, and with strong, consistent wins expected, it could be an exciting conclusion to this year's Bullitt GC32 racing tour. We'll see you then.